Welcome back and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I am Kenneth Shark Kinney, your host and Chief Shark Officer. Let me tell you about two amazing sponsors that make this show possible. Let's talk first about Inbound. From marketing to sales and commerce to CX, Invoca's active conversation intelligence platform enables revenue teams to create better buying experiences, drive more leads, and increase revenue. Trusted by top brands like Dish Network, Mayo Clinic, Mutual of Omaha, and ADT, Greg and the Invoca team are doing some amazing work in turning conversational data into automated action to enhance digital touchpoints and human interaction. Next, let's talk about Outbound. I hope that you'll take a look at Drips, the founder of conversational texting, where they use conversational AI to help you reach customers where they are most responsive, and that's on their phones. And working with major brands like 3-Day Blinds, Liberty Mutual, Credit Repair, and Gainsco, my friend AC and the team at Drips are leading the way for some of the biggest brands in the world to improve engagement rates and outcomes for their prospects and customers. Thank you to Invoca and Drips. And now back to the show. So if you were to go out and evangelize your corporate brand, then how would you do it? What would you say, especially if you worked for a large brand like Microsoft? Would it be all about their ad platform or how you make products that are more accessible and inclusive for customers? There's a lot there, from ad platforms to Xbox to social networks and much more. What would you preach? John Lee is the head of evangelism at Microsoft, and on this episode we'll discuss brand evangelism, leveraging influencers, when even the big brands need a human face, why call everything Bing, performance marketing, accessibility, customer experience, inclusion, Bill Gates and Satya Nadella, a good topic no one discusses at conferences, when Ball State finally broke that losing streak, and a lot more. So let's tune into a Microsoft preacher, if you will, with a shark whose sermon is better marketing and advertising on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. John, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. We'll dive into your background at Microsoft a little bit further, but briefly give us a minute on you and your background, your career story to date.
Yeah, well, Kenneth, thank you for having me. And hello, everybody. So yeah, I'm John Lee. Currently head of evangelism at Microsoft Advertising. If we go back many moons ago, I went to college to teach music. That's a head scratcher. I still play music, play piano, some guitar, some harmonica. I sing. That's all fun. I had to just, a circuitous journey from there to where I'm at today. I worked for a movie theater chain, was a manager there. And then I worked for a self-publishing company. That's kind of where I started to dip my toes in, PR and just, baby steps into the world of marketing. But from there then was hired into Hannafin Marketing. And for those who don't know, Hannafin Marketing is where ppchero.com was born, which spawned HeroConf and many other things. I had the rare pleasure of writing the very first blog post on ppchero.com. It's my lone claim to fame in this world. But from there, went on. I worked with WordStream for a short time, and then with Clicks Marketing, was co-owner of Clicks Marketing before coming to Microsoft. And so, interesting journey. But digital advertising, digital marketing, I'm in 15 years, and if nothing else makes me feel old, that number does.
Good. So I know you through the DigiMarcon conference where we both spoke, but tell me a little bit about your role as head of evangelism at Microsoft and how you also act as a speaker for them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, evangelism, that's one of those fun tech terms. It is this, it's being out and about, talking about the brand, talking about our products and features in the work that we're doing, whether that's speaking, doing interviews like this, writing. I do a lot of writing, but my job also encompasses some other elements. So I manage a community of influencers and media individuals, and that's a great way. You consider it a feedback loop, right? I'm providing information, but they're providing feedback. We meet monthly, and internally partnering with, my direct peers in brand marketing, but across the entire marketing organization, sales, et cetera, to think about how are we bringing these amazing features, these amazing products to market, and how are we going to talk about them with our clients and with the industry at large. So it's a multifaceted job. It's a big job, but I very much love it.
Go a little bit further into how you're working with influencers, because I think it's really interesting. I'm always curious to see, as this Microsoft continues to evolve, how you have also evolved with influencers. Kind of dive into a little bit of that role.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm in a rare position in that I've been able to see it from both sides. And so the influencer community that I manage, once upon a time, I actually was a part of when I was still on the agency side. And so being able to see it from both perspectives is pretty darn cool. But how I think about it is it's very much relationship building, right? I am a people person. I can talk to much like you, Kenneth, right? Can talk to anybody about anything for as long as need be. And I love every second of that. So that's a big part of it, is just basic communication. But these individuals, the way things are set up, they consider me as the lightning rod, right? If they've got a question about what's going on, if maybe they're going to be giving a presentation, they're writing an article, I'm the guy, right? That they're going to come to and ask for, hey, can we go a little bit deeper on this particular topic? Or do you have any, just some slides maybe that would give me the perspective I need to take that and talk about it? That's definitely, again, I'm that guy. But within the context of our regular cadence of meetings, like I was alluding to earlier, it's an opportunity for me to come to the table and talk through, okay, here's what you might have missed since we last talked, whether that's some content we published or a feature that, maybe it wasn't a marquee feature, but still something that's important. But then I'm going deep into, all right, here's the roadmap. And these folks are getting an early look, right? Weeks, months down the line. Oftentimes when appropriate, I'm bringing our product marketing managers, bringing our engineers into that call to speak to the product. But most importantly is to answer questions, right? So most of these folks, even our journalist friends that are part of this group, they understand this industry, and they all have such wonderful perspective on what is happening, and they're able to ask the right questions. And so we are giving information, but we're also getting so much more back, right?
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. It's truly a feedback loop. And then, honestly, a lot of these people I've been able to partner with on content, whether, I'm inviting them to join me on a webinar or, co-opting some sort of a presentation. And that for me, it's just a red thread. That's fun. But it's also another way that we're all kind of helping each other just, improve the industry at large.
Microsoft's such a massive brand, though. It's been around for decades now. It's been a powerhouse, both in B2B and B2C. What is the solution that influencers are helping Microsoft fill with a brand name that's so well known,
right,
and respected and trusted as well?
So that's a really big question, but a good one. What I would say is that I personally am blessed. I work for an organization, Microsoft Advertising, that is blessed to have the support of to your words, a massive corporation that is Microsoft behind us and supporting us. As any big corporation it is made up of smaller units. And Microsoft Advertising, you could think of us much like Canva. I mean, I think we're older than 10 years. We're definitely older than 10 years, but not by much. And so consider us a startup within the context of big bad Microsoft. So with that in mind, we are also, the underdog brand to Google Ads, right? Just I'll name drop them, right? I mean, when you think search, we're the two major players.
You can say their name.
Well, no, I won't go. We're not going down that road. But we're the challenger brand, right? And so yes, the power of Microsoft, but we still have an uphill battle, an uphill climb to take here to bring our brand to market, to bring our messaging to market, but most importantly is to bring a very high quality product to market and land that with our existing clients, continue to grow that. But most importantly is to find new ones. And so while yes, Microsoft, and that affords us a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so, we do have a sizable marketing team that I'm super proud to be a part of, but we can only do so much. We can only reach so many people as individuals. And so, being an evangelist, it puts a face to a brand. Before me was Christy Olson, for those that know who she is. And even before her, John Gagnon, both of whom I consider good friends. We get to sit in this seat and take the heat sometimes, take the fun stories, the good, the good and the bad. But most importantly is to partner with people. And that's really a Microsoft mantra as well as a Microsoft advertising mantra, is we want to partner with our clients, partner with, again, individuals as influencers. It could be, tool providers, you name it. It's all about partnership. And so that's really the relationship that we're building there, is let's partner together. Your feedback, influencer, is going to make our product better. And, me giving you all this wonderful information that you can, hopefully take and talk about, blog about, speak about, is going to reach those customers, those clients that maybe I couldn't on my own. And so that's, it's a symbiotic relationship that truly, multiple organizations within Microsoft and other businesses rely heavily on.
Yeah, it's a great point, especially when you think of how large of a company it is and how well known it is. If Bill Gates takes a vacation and they grab a photo, that becomes a national news story more than some big, massive Microsoft product launch that can't get attention. So it's almost cannibalistic when you achieve the level that he has. And he has been with the company in 2 decades?
Right. Well, chairman
or a
of the
decade
board
plus.
and all
Yeah,
that
chairman of
good
the board.
stuff. But he's not making the day-to-day decisions.
Exactly. Talk a little bit about your role in speaking at conferences, which is, again, how we met.
Yeah. So I've been, I'll use the quote unquote on the circuit phrase. 2013 or so. I had been blogging well before that. I think for like 6 years aggressively before that, sometimes multiple times a week, much to my detriment and mental health. But wink, wink to all my copywriter people out there, right? But started speaking around 2013. And so not a new thing for me. And for anybody that has seen me present, or anybody that just knows me, I am me. Like, when you get John, you get John, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm talking to, like right now with you, Kenneth, talking one-on-one in a meeting with my peers and teammates, I'm me. So that means I'm a little goofy. I know a little bit about a lot of things. And, I'm quick on my feet, and all of those skills have, wow. It's like a superpower, right? I can just show up with some knowledge, but most importantly, be able to, stitch together a story, get a couple of smiles. If I get a laugh, that's a win for me. But most importantly is I've landed a few points and I'm getting questions that I'm like, yep, they listened, they heard, and they're processing. And so they're asking the right questions. That's a win-win-win, I guess, for me. I love that. And I miss the in-person part of it, the networking and all of that goes with it. But speaking is truly a treat. And so I've spoken on a lot of things, all the nuts and bolts of paid search. I've not actually presented on anything in the SEO world, even though I did SEO for a few years a while ago. But it's ranged everything from, like I said, like, let's get in there, this is how you do this piece by piece by piece, to something a little more abstract. For a while, when I still was a co-owner of my agency, was actually doing presentations on, like, here's how to think about working with your clients and like speaking to agency issues. And that was actually fun. It was a nice break from talking about, bids and keywords and ads and everything else. But, in my time at Microsoft, before this role, I was in learning and development. And so I kind of was presenting often in facilitating training and, just, helping be the brain and sometimes the voice behind online training. It's a different form of presentation. And so it's something that's, I don't know, it's carried with me all along and definitely helped me get into this role for sure.
Let's talk a little bit further about Bing and advertising in particular, because again, started in your role with PPC Hero, and where you were also helping evangelize a lot of the Microsoft advertising. Where do you see Bing standing up against the 800-pound Google gorilla, if you will?
Sure.
Because it's still a good platform for advertising.
Well, so I'll start by just providing a little bit of color commentary or context to say we have Microsoft advertising, which is an ad platform for search, also native. And we also have, our retail arm in Promote IQ, or PIQ as we call it internally, right? So
Which,
that's a
again, I'm going to
multifaceted
keep
brand.
calling all of these Bing by accident.
No, that's fine.
So forgive me. I know the difference. It's a bad habit.
Yeah, no, but it's good, right? Because this is actually, it's a great learning moment for anybody that's listening to say, like, we've got the umbrella of Microsoft advertising, and that's the ad platform. And then you have Bing, the search engine, which is like its own thing, and is driving a lot of innovation in AI and machine learning for Microsoft, right? It is a massive thing, right? It is more than just what you see on Bing.com. And so there's a relationship there. But what I would say is it's more than just Bing.com when you think about consumer experience. So Microsoft, as we've already talked about, is this big thing that includes Windows, that includes the Edge browser. And for those that haven't been paying attention to tech news, the Edge browser is on the move, buddy. It's a good thing. There's been partnership with Google using the Chromium engine, but man, that browser is amazing. New features launching. Well, at least for me, I'm on the dev version, but I like every week, right? New features coming at you hot and heavy. That plus Windows plus ecosystem. When you think about everything that is Microsoft, we bring a lot to the story, but it doesn't end there. There's also our deep partnerships. So on the search side, yes, it is Bing, but it is also Yahoo and AOL. And then you can go a step deeper to DuckDuckGo and Forbes and Wall Street Journal and a whole host of well-known entities where they have search. We are providing that for them, and our ads being served in conjunction. And so there's a massive ecosystem, and that's as we continue to build that, plus everything that's happening on native advertising, which is, we could talk for an hour just on that, but those two pieces alone, that is where we see growth and how we compete in the marketplace.
Right. So then let me rephrase this. How should a marketer, especially a performance marketer, look at Microsoft advertising when building out their budgets and expectations? Because again, having been on the brand side, I always saw the power in advertising on Microsoft because it gave me solid conversions. It was always 10%, and it got discounted because most people would spend their 90% of their money on Google. But a solid 10% I could always depend on with Microsoft, and it was never getting the attention from even a lot of the people above. And it's still a really important one, but when you see it at conferences most of the time, I used to joke with actually an SEO friend of mine that I was going to do a presentation on the power of Microsoft advertising because everybody else was running towards the Google presentations, but they were all the same and it was great and all. And so when I look at it compared to its competitors, it has a good place that I think a lot of marketers, especially performance marketers, the smart ones know about it.
That's right.
But not all of them use it enough.
So I'll start my answer with this, and that is I empathize with account managers at agencies and folks that are in-house and the budget decision makers, because share of wallet, when we think about where does the budget go, is getting more and more and more complex, right? It is not just Google, it's not just Microsoft, it is a host of other channels, whether that be the Facebook, Instagram combo, or Snapchat or TikTok, which is booming right now. And that's just tip of the iceberg. So I empathize. I've been there. My viewpoint when I was agency side was always follow the data and don't be afraid to try and test. And so we would lay the groundwork when we were still pitching for business to say, look, we've done our audit. You're on Google. It looks like you may have tried something on Microsoft advertising, but may not be active. But hey, have you considered XYZ, all of these other things? And so we want to make sure that as we move forward, that we set aside time, priority, and most importantly, budget to test these different things, and then just work with them to prove that out. And almost always with Microsoft advertising, but even other channels that they hadn't tried yet, we would be able to find that little nugget, right? That something that's working, and take it and grow that. And, that's how you win people over, right? It is follow the data. So I'll start there. When you think about Microsoft advertising, let's just talk search. I mean, it's what, 1 in 3 searches when you think desktop, and it's 2 out of every 5 if you think about all device types. So yes, Google's going to dominate when you think search. Fair. I can't argue against that. But when you think about a pie, you've got a pie, and you're buying a pie at the store. Are you going to buy just 3/4 of a pie, or whatever that ratio is? No, you're going to buy the whole damn pie. So when you think about search, why wouldn't you get the whole pie? Do what you need to do in Google and give Microsoft Advertising a shot, and then follow the data. And so to your point, did this, I think I even shared the video with you, did a goofy myth busting thing a little while ago, around what are some common misconceptions. All right, Microsoft advertising is only for B2B. It's only for old people, all these things. And while that may have been somewhat statistically true years ago, not anymore. So from a gender perspective, it's pretty much equal, 50-50, men and women. Age-wise, shame on me, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but like 40-something% is 45 or lower, which is prime age demographic. And then when you think about market, verticals, we do well in travel, in healthcare, tech and telco, all of these big verticals. And what's really interesting is looking at the charts of search volume and search share based on some of those verticals. We actually do better, right, in some of these verticals than the average. And my last anecdote, I heard you mention 90-10. I feel like everybody I talked to has had a different ratio of where they had their clients between Google and Microsoft in the past. I mean, I had clients for a while that I was running like closer to 60-40. And I think it's one of those things, everybody's going to be different, right? It's different, but like, and I remember that particular client, my account rep at the time, they're like, this is amazing. She's like, and when you tell me this share of wallet data, like what you're spending on Google versus us, that's accurate. I'm like, why would I lie? They're like, that's amazing. And I'm like, well, but it's
to your
working.
point, you got to follow the data.
That's
At
right.
the end of the day, if you have a good customer come as a result of it with affordable click rates and ultimately affordable, not just on a click-through rate, but on a cost per customer, I mean,
Correct.
this is the data that you need to follow, not preconceived notions. Now, people are still going to start their budget for the most part with how much they're going to allocate towards Google.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't with any channel just follow only that path,
Correct.
follow a siloed path and ignore the other channels. Again, TikTok, to that point, wonderful example. It's not all Gen Zers. And
that's right. It is a weird combination of demographics.
It's very interesting demographics. But since we're going back to the pie, we'll call Microsoft ads in a chicken pot pie, you'd be the vegetables.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I do like the meat, but it's not pot pie without veggies.
Exactly. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about your presentation that I saw you recently give, which covered a lot of marketing with purpose, which is also, as the friend I mentioned, Ben Tamlin, that I've heard him speak to as well. But I found it interesting that Microsoft, on multiple occasions that I've seen them speak at conferences, have done a very impactful, sort of at the heart, less about Google ads and SEO.
Right.
And so your presentation was talking about marketing with purpose, driving growth through trusted brand experiences. One of the really moving videos that you showed was the gentleman who he was born with some sort of deformity, and
correct. Yeah, he didn't have hands,
hands
right?
and digits. And he talked about how the package came to him from when he got his Xbox. He couldn't even put into words. He obviously did it in the video in words, but he couldn't put it really into eloquent words that made him feel comfortable of how much it made an impact on his life, of what Microsoft and Xbox did for him. And so kind of set up that story about the gentleman in particular, and talk about why telling those kind of stories is important to you and important to Microsoft.
Yeah. So, we as Microsoft Advertising, a lot of the work that has gone into research and piecing through what is that data telling us, right? And when I say research, I mean surveys, right? Actual surveys with marketers and clients, and the list goes on. A lot of people touched in that to give their feedback of what is this idea of brand trust and brand loyalty, and how does a business get there? All of that came together into Marketing with Purpose, and a hat tip to my peer MJ DePalma, who's really been the tip of the spear for that work. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. But to your specific question, so that video was a gentleman who is a streamer. Here we go, a video game streamer, right? Like, this guy plays games online on video, right, for people to watch him on Twitch. He was probably on Mixer before. I'm sad face, no more Mixer. But he's somewhat well known, right, in the gaming space. And yeah, his video is all about when he ordered the new Xbox Series X and he received the package. I mean, he was in tears. And the first time I watched that video, I was in tears, just explaining how, so I don't know how they did it. They being Microsoft, it's like, I don't know how they did it, but they designed a package for me. All I had to do was undo this little bit of tape and the box just opened. And there it was, right? Easy access. So it didn't matter that he didn't have hands. He could still open it up and get to the product. And so that's this idea of inclusivity. And in that case, inclusivity in product design and in packaging design. And obviously we're coming at it from a marketing perspective. And so that's why it's Marketing with Purpose, and thinking through how do we approach, our copy, our images, our videos, just how we show up to be inclusive. And when you do that and you do it in an authentic way, that is how you win people over, right? It is brand loyalty. And one of the words that came out of this is love. It's not just loyalty, but you can have individuals, customers fall in love with you and your brand. That's powerful. But it goes both ways. And I actually read an article on Media Post just yesterday, actually, that was speaking to the same thing. And that's this idea of brand trust. It comes, and this is something that's in some of our work, but like brand trust comes to you in drips. But when you lose it in buckets. So it's hard to get, super easy to lose. And that's an important lesson for, I think, people, just you and me, right? To understand about trust. But that, explodes, it extrapolates quickly when you think about a brand and how many, hundreds or thousands or potentially millions of customers you have.
And it's not just trust, it builds loyalty. You and I even discussed this during the conference, but this guy became a super fan.
Yeah. An advocate.
And he will stay that way for life. And he was like many people that have some form of disability, and that's a large number. Not everybody has his affliction, but whether or not somebody is challenged in some way, when a company can come help them, these are people with real purchasing power. These are not weak victims. They just need a little bit of help. And they can really turn into some loyal super fans and tell a much better story about your brand than any of your brand speak ever will.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing that Microsoft or any other brand could ever tell me that this person couldn't tell better and really show more influence.
Yeah. Well, and to that end, that's why my teammate Stephanie, a big part of her job is working with clients to put together testimonials and, client first stories, because our clients day in, day out will tell our story better than we can every day, right? And sometimes that's through data, right? Data storytelling is very powerful, but oftentimes it's and my account rep did this and something broke and our immediate reaction was, this is bad, shame on you, Microsoft Advertising. But then we worked to a resolution, and now, like, how could we not, trust you? And I'm like, it's like, okay, my job here is done.
Well, John, you're in Louisville, Kentucky. So sharks are never in the Ohio River, at least any confirmed stories I've ever seen. But what is your favorite kind of shark or shark story, and why?
Well, I have to say that seeing the whale sharks at the Atlanta Zoo, or the Georgia
Aquarium.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh my God. Like, I was a full on adult, and I had both of my children, my wife with me, and I'm pretty sure my jaw was dropped far more than either of my kids was. And it's just a sense of wonder. And I've always been perplexed by and curious about hammerheads. What a weird, odd little creature. Like, how does it get by in life having such a wide head with eyes on the end? Like, that's so odd to me.
I've seen both of them in the wild, and they're both amazing. So, John, it's a special time in the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
That's what I'm here for, Kenneth. Let's do this.
Good. That's the whole show. We're just going to cut out everything else.
That's
before.
right.
All right. Number 1, piano or guitar?
Oof.
There's only one good answer out of this.
Listening guitar.
Wrong
Playing.
Piano. All right. Number 2, Kentucky bourbon or Tennessee whiskey?
That is a very easy answer, and that's going to be Kentucky bourbon for the win.
Wrong. Dum, bum, bum, bum.
It's Tennessee all good, honestly. I mean, if it's whiskey, okay.
It's true.
But
it's true.
Bourbon is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, greatest talk show host ever, late night talk show host, Jay Leno or David Letterman?
I'm a Letterman fan. Through and through, both the Indiana connection, the Ball State connection. He and my mom were actually at Ball State at the same time back in the 60s. But at the end of the day, like, Letterman just, I don't know, he's my kind of nerd, weird.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Number 4, greatest coach in the Commonwealth of Kentucky history.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Rick Pitino or John Calipari. And let's skip all the anything bad that either of them did, said, or was accused of in the past. Just we're talking coaching.
Right. And to be perfectly honest, I have zero skin in this game. So either answer I give, I'm not going to make myself upset or anybody else. I'll go Calipari. I mean, the record speaks for itself.
Yeah, except he had 2 Final Fours vacated, but that's another story.
Yeah.
One of those hurts a little bit more than the other to me.
And I'm a Hoosier at heart. So, I mean, let's talk about Bobby Knight. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but you're from Ball State. So
you're right. That's right. Can I tell a super quick sports story about Ball State?
Sure.
My freshman year at Ball State.
Their entire sports history. Is that
right.
Story?
No, like in the midst of the longest, at that time at least, the longest collegiate football losing streak.
Yes.
And had, like, unfortunately I didn't get to go to the game. I was working at the library that day because, loser. But anyways, they won the game. Of course, everybody stormed the field, ripped down the goalposts. The coach had the clear mind to get the game ball, and he flew to New York City that night, was on the David Letterman show, because Letterman, one of the most famous Ball State alums, was just railing on Ball State every night.
Oh, yeah.
And the dude was like, finally, here, shut up, please. But that happened while I was at Ball State. It's a fun memory.
Number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Man, that one hurts, Kenneth, because I don't really do bread anymore of any sort. Man,
Indiana
there's like a contextual element to this too, right? Like biscuits and gravy, but then
and you're that Indiana corn connection,
I know, but like cornbread and chili, cornbread and beans, like, oh man, I'll vote cornbread.
Okay. All right. So John, we don't want people to Google you, but Bing you instead.
That's correct. Bing it.
To be politically correct. But where can people find out more about you, follow your work at Microsoft and more?
Yeah, fair enough. I'm on Twitter at John_A_Lee, LinkedIn, the John A. Lee.
John, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you, Kenneth, for having me. It was a blast, and I will never forget getting asked questions about cornbread versus biscuits and Yahoo.
So there was my conversation with John Lee, the head of evangelism at Microsoft. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, don't underestimate putting a face to a brand, even one as large and mature as Microsoft. A lot of brands struggle with this, especially the larger and more mature ones, but it can be powerful in how you create better partnerships and relationships. Second, For performance marketers, don't discount your 10% spend on Microsoft. Could be more, could be less, depending on your budget, but it's likely for most marketers an afterthought. However, as I've often made fun of the redheaded stepchild in the search market, at the end of the day, if you get good conversions at a good cost, then that channel is delivered. As John said, the share of wallet is getting more and more complex, but follow the data and test more. In the customer journey, I think of Microsoft as the vegetables in a chicken pot pie. Now, almost everyone has enjoyed a chicken pot pie at some point in their life, especially the crust on the edges for me, but without vegetables, that pie wouldn't be complete. Understanding that balance for a customer and how they go through an entire journey and how channels other than just the ones you think are the only delivery mechanisms for customers will give you a better pie. Don't laugh now, but I'm hungry. Just don't be afraid to swim in other waters and test different channels that can perform. Third, when I've seen Microsoft present at quite a few conferences, I've often really enjoyed how they market with a purpose. In their case, inclusivity. As he said, and I'll paraphrase, when you do it, as in market yourself, when you do it in an authentic way, that's how you win loyalty and customers who will fall in love with your brand. Also, with that, you gain trust. He went on to say, as we sometimes hear, that brand trust comes to you in drips, but you lose it in buckets. It's hard to gain, but it's easy to lose. Amen to that. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. I'm so thankful to everyone who listens. Thank you to the amazing sponsors Invoke and Drips. So would you do me a favor if you like this episode? Would you consider writing a review and help me preach the marketing gospel anyways? So let's get back together soon. And please join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.